cool. I'm just shuffle my way in there and be like, oh, what up, everybody? My name is Francis. Today we're gonna be sharpening a knife. We're actually thinning a knife, Masakage Zero. This thing hasn't been done in a while, so we're gonna make a beautiful bevel onto it. A little gorgeous, little kasumi finish. Nothing too fancy. Like, this guy's a gorgeous knife. We're gonna do it till we're happy. Happy is good. Cool. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna show you what we have around here. So gonna give a general idea. Buddy Owen's over there. To ignore him or not, it's okay. So what we have around here is sharpening equipment. We're gonna use a couple stones for this kind of a process. We're gonna use a Knifewear Professional 400. This is one of my absolute favorite stones to use. We also have a Hibiki 1000. This is going to be my medium grit stone. That's going to really help me progress up to a nice kasumi finish. I'm gonna finish off the bevel with a 90-foot traditional. This is a resinoid stone, so it's actually quite soft. Resinoid's a fancy word for, like, this is gonna polish, so this is gonna be nice, right? One of a few favorites to use, so you can see how skinny this one is. So other than that, head on over here. We got our little good old Hoyle wheels, the little record spinning wheels that we got there. That's gonna help me set my bevel. It's gonna really make a nice crisp edge and hopefully make it a little bit easier for me. And then we're gonna move on to the pink wheel, which is going to be nice. Let's get started. So first thing I like to do is I'm gonna do some markings. I'm gonna do a couple test scratches to kind of see where the bevel is at. I wanna see if there's any hollow grinding in the middle here. Hollow grinding just means that there's a big of a sharpening that's kind of created by the wheel. Sometimes that comes with an issue when you're sharpening. We're gonna see if we can get rid of that, right? I'm gonna move on to the wheel here. So what we're looking at right now is there's a little bit of a hollow grind. So a hollow grind means that the wheel that's been sharpening or the beveling is a little bit inverted, right? So you see this little part that's not touching the wheel. This is flat, this is curved in a way. We want to try to get rid of that as much as possible. And then this line up here, we would call shinogi. That's where the line's gonna hit up, or the stone's gonna hit up too. Right, so we're gonna make that as crisp as possible. I let just the wheel kind of sit, or the knife sit on the wheel. It's not gonna do a lot of damage. I'm gonna apply the pressure now, right along the edge. Going back and forth. Continue on here, right? You start to see now I got a little bit more grinding moving upwards, right? And because I have still a big blade road on the bottom, it means that I still have a lot of steel to take off around here. So even though it looks like it's going to grind a lot more steel at the very top here, I'm just gonna continue on, see how it goes. As I'm doing this, sometimes I do a little shimmy, kind of replicate what a stone does for me. And one thing I like to kind of keep when I'm using the wheel is I like to ride my beveling on the radius, so working from the very edge to the very middle here. Right. I don't like to go sideways like that. Sometimes it creates little scratches in a different direction. It makes it hard to kind of see where I'm working. Right, so I'm just gonna keep on going back and forth. Right, you can start to see that grind. You start to really build up that line at the very top now. Right, I really like that look overall. So one part that I don't see that's grinding to the top, you can see right there the shoulder here. This part you have to be careful. Sometimes it does kind of over grind upwards, which kind of makes a really weird kind of look to it. Depends on how they're grind. So we're gonna fix that a little bit on my end. I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure, a little higher up. You can see my fingers just move from here to here. Right, I'll add a little more pressure. The wheel has a different sound to it, which makes it a bit easier to kind of see if you're pinpointing it. Okay, and you can start to see that line is kind of slowly moving upwards here. Right, so at some point like here, this looks pretty good. That middle part looks like it's not touching still, but I'm gonna deal with that a little later on. It's gonna move on to the other side now, just kind of feel it, make it more even, right? So I keep on pitching it around. If there's any thick spots, I will start to kind of go back to it. So right around here is very thick. I can feel like a little ridge right along the belly here, so I'm gonna go back to the wheel here. And it's really easy to tell sometimes with this type of knife because the algom is super. On the wheel, it feels a little more slippery, so you can kind of feel if you're touching the hard steel there. Right, you can start to see it actually starts to improve. Vroom, vroom. We got the beveling done, right? All the lines are nice and straight. We can see it's quite thin. We got a good majority of that line we created for that first kind of pass that we did there, right? So it's nice and thin again. Okay, we got to do this side here. We got to do the same thing on this side, and then we just got to make it even, right? Just both sides, one side even to the other. We don't want to make it like that side just all on one side, right? We gotta even it out.
2 hours later.
We finished both sides on the wheel, on the beautiful green wheel. The green wheel is like a 100 grit grinding stone. It just kind of just hogs off a lot of steel, really makes my life a lot easier. We're still gonna work on some grinding stones right now, but not as aggressive as the green wheel we just did right there, right? So something equivalent, if you guys don't have something at home, if we don't have a wheel like us here, grab yourself like a rough grinding stone. Something low, like a 220. We supply our own 220 here, Knifewear 220. And then we also have some other ones, a 180 grit, something really rough, right? Lovely, the scale guy here, right? So grab yourself one of these guys. This will really make that work a lot easier, right? Moving on, we're going to get onto the pink wheel. Pink wheel. Okay, so this pink wheel, also from one of our suppliers here. Ours is not the prettiest, but generally it doesn't matter. All we want is the grit to basically get rid of all these scratches that we made with the green wheel. So this is just going to be a refinement process. It's not really necessary. I could definitely do all of this with a rough stone like this by hand. It just takes a lot more time. So we're gonna just speed it up a bit. Okay, so apply the pressure, working below, you can start to see the knife jump a bit. And this is just to get rid of those scratches we just did, right? So I am holding the knife at a different way. I'm not actually working from the radius. I wanna kind of change the scratches so I can see where I'm contenting. Right, so just keep on applying pressure. And I generally like to work on the outside of the wheel. The wheel spins faster on the outside, right? You really dig that in my brain, so I make sure that I know that. Right down there is the beveling. Come back up and just repeat the process over and over again until all the scratches are gone, as much as possible. Now, sometimes I'm gonna leave a couple scratches. That's okay. That's what the next step's going to be for, right? This just makes it a lot easier for me to kind of clean up the whole entire finish really nicely. This is the exact same step basically. So the green wheel, set the bevel. Now we're just getting rid of all the scratches, right? So this helps to clean it all up. There's not much of a difference from this side here. Because our bevel's already set, this should be pretty easy and quick. This is where it just gets more manual, right? We're gonna work the entire beveling, everything from the top to the bottom. We're just going to finish it all in stones, right? So this is a 491. This is one of my favorite ones to kind of start off with because it stays flat for a really long time. The 400 cuts really nicely, kind of really sets a good foundation for it to basically progress to a nicer kasumi finish. What is kasumi finish? Is that little contrast between the hardcore steel and the soft steel. You can already kind of see it on my knife, kind of start to resemble that, right? But we want to make it like way more different, right? Kind of see that contrast. So that's my job, and that's where we're gonna work towards too. Let's start. So you and me, we're gonna be best friends today, okay? This is gonna be a good day. Anyways. I am a right-handed person. My left sides are usually terrible in terms of sharpening. So let's start with the left side. I always start hard, right? More difficult side. It's easier to do the right side for me, so it looks more even across. So we're gonna do this side here, right? So this stone is already pre-flattened. I wanna add a little bit of water to the surface here. Bada bang. Okay, so key things I wanna kinda look for. I just wanna even it all out. Once I develop quite a bit of mud, then I start to kind of soften up my pressure, and then increase my pressure a little bit more on the edge there, so I can get that nice contrast to kind of work for me. In terms of direction, I'm just going to point the knife like that on a diagonal to the stone, and most of the scratches are going to go up and down this way. So right now the scratches are kind of sporadic everywhere, so we don't really need to do any test scratching. Take my knife, go up and down here, right? So just a couple times, right on the bevel. And the amount of pressure, the way that I kind of do it is maybe about a pound of pressure. You don't have to add a lot of weight, just enough to basically let the knife kind of glide back and forth. That's what I find is the easiest. So one thing I like to have around me is I like a little blue sponge. This is a very gentle sponge, so it doesn't scratch the surface of it. I always have it somewhere in my sink, just to kind of clean off the progress there so I can see a little easier. So the green stone really tells you a lot about like how even the beveling is, right? So you can see here, it's contacting down there, right, really nicely. The tip not so much. The belly, it's kind of all shiny still. The back end is all shiny, and then right to the heel there, right? So that's what we expected there, right? So we're gonna continue on. We're gonna do another pass, but we want to focus on those spots that we missed there. You saw that this corner had a little bit of a overgrind still, so we're gonna apply the pressure a little higher up, kind of focus on that area a bit more, right? And you can start to see like my mud over here is starting to get a little dry. Add a bit more water, make it a little bit easier for myself. Those focus spots we kind of have to really dig down and deep into, so this might take a little bit of time. Right, we got the tip a bit more. You can see there's no shiny spots there, just down there, and just a tad bit at the very bottom, right? So there's one thing that I don't worry too much is sometimes you can kind of look at the knife and you'll see little scratches there, right? So in most cases, if you're really finicky about your finishes, I typically will drop it back down, maybe to the pink wheel, just to get rid of those scratches, but they're so tiny minute that they don't really affect the overall performance, so I don't really worry too much about that. It's just a small detail that's not going to get picked up really easily. We're going to finish off that little top part there and move on to the next step after. The 400 grit is done, so you can see now it's nice and clean compared to that side there. So we're going to switch hands and do the other side now.
12 seconds later.
Both sides have been done now. So my 400 has done a majority of my lifting for this portion here. So both sides resemble very similar results here. So sidewise left side, scratches are gone. There might be some low spots still there. We'll deal with that later on. It might come as an issue, but that's future Francis's problem. All right, so the next one I have here is called the Hibiki 1000, right? This is a really nice hard stone. It's about 1,000 grits. I really like this because it's always really flat, especially when doing this Masakage. It does give you, it does get rid of all the kind of like the finer scratches that the 400 left off. It's going to really bring out that contrast a little bit more, help kind of polish up that edge a bit more too as well. And yeah, we're gonna make it super shiny. Have a little bit of fun with it. So working from a Knifewear Professional 400 up to a Hibiki 1000 now. Essentially what I've done is just kind of made the scratches smaller. That's so the progression going up until like the polishing stage. So I did a couple stuff a little bit differently. When I was working on this stone here, I changed the direction of scratches so they're all working horizontally to the blade now, right? And this will help me kind of determine if I got rid of certain scratches out of the way, right? So from 1,000, we're gonna now polish the edge, kind of make that difference much brighter. Next stone we're gonna work on to is the 90-watt traditional 2000. I'm gonna work on my 90-watt traditional 2000 now. I'm gonna apply nice clean water. Clean water is good because previously I was working from the 400, 1000, all that grit has kind of washed into my basin, and I don't want to reintroduce it to my stone here, or else it's going to cause me problems, very minute visual problems. Add pressure to the edge of the knife and work my way up closer to the shinogi, or the line up the top there. And I'm just going to lift my angle just slightly, right? Just the ever so slightly, right? Not enough to really see a difference in the angle, but it's going to help me so that I don't scratch some of the fogginess on the top there. So a little bit of pressure, full length. All the way up, all the way down. All right, made it shiny, made the edge shiny. Use a little bit of that mud on the stone to just kind of clean up the actual fogginess on the blade there, right? This is as far as I go. If anything more work, I'm just kind of polishing it more to a more mirror finish. And of course, like the more mirror the finish, the more the patina builds up much cleaner, the easier it is to take care of the carbon steel. But in most cases, this is where I stop. You can go, you can definitely progress more, right? If you go up to a 6,000 if you wanted to, have some fun with it, right? Don't let me stop you from going up numbers. It's a fun thing to do, and it's something that you got to mess with a lot of times, right? I've had my times of going up to 6,000, 8,000, and it's a lot of fun. But in terms of practical everyday use, this is more than enough. And because I already set the bevel for this guy, it's very easy to thin it out again for the next time, right? So if you want to continue to sharpen in this kind of similar fashion every single time, it just keeps the blade in a good thin fashion, right? So it lasts a lot longer, rather than just sharpening the edge or the apex of the blade there. We're going to just sharpen the blade now, right? So during the thinning process, the edge should be established already because of how thin the blade is, right? So at this stage here, I can just work on my stones without having to go to my wheels again. So I'm gonna take the 2,000, go back down, sharpen, sharpen, sharpen. Find an angle that you find really comfortable with and just stick with it, right? If it's wider, stronger. If it's a little lower, it's gonna be sharper. And here I should be able to feel a burr from the very tip, right? So for the very tip all the way down to the very bottom here, there's no empty spots. Next. If you guys want to learn how to do basic sharpening, check out that video in the corner. So now we're going to just do the usual. We're going to strop up the edge now. Awesome. And then the good old little paper test. Right down to the very edge. Cool. If you want to find out more about sharpening, check out one of these videos. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. Brandy, thanks for watching. I'm Francis, 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 thanks for watching. Is that good enough?
Put that whole thing in. I'm Francis, thanks for watching.